The legal process of adoption is slavery, but it still boggles my mind that white adoptive parents like Julian Miacheals continues to defend slavery while actually using a very similar process to obtain their children.
Julian Michael is on hot seat for saying some racial statement. Let's talk about it. Hey beautiful people, how you are doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video, I want to talk about Julian Michael CNN interview, or will I say talk that they had. If you don't know who Julian Michael is, please Google is your friend. Yes, the fitness trainer from The Biggest Loser, which we're going to get to that in another video. Okay. Anyway, the fitness trainer from The Biggest Loser and the celebrity fitness coach, that's Julia Michaels. Yes, so she was on a talk show on CNN, and one of the ladies there were talking, and they were talking about the system, how the system is working. And Julia Michaels decided to chip in our own 2 cents into this, and she wanted to talk about racism and how the racism card is being played, and literally try to downplay racism, talking about how only 2% of white people have slave, and also went on to talk about how black people are using every little thing is, they say, oh, it's the white person's fault, it's because of whiteness and all that. And she was being checked, which we're going to get into, and this has also got people's reaction to it. But before I go on into this video, can we say that, please tell me, most of the wars, the most prominent wars that we know around the world, who started it? Black or white? Anyway, guys, let's go hear what Julia Roberts said and then people's reaction to it, and then we'll come back and talk more.
Gone into the Smithsonian, and he's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we
organization
address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that we could talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
he's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look
at slavery,
let's talk about the fact.
I mean, slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to try to end slavery? Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Do you realize that,
Julian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and who was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
in the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by saying that
it
was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of Castro. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door, the first thing you see is the gay flag?
Julian, you have a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yeah, I do,
what
because
exactly
I don't, because here's the thing.
Are you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex to do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men competing against biological women in sports? No. But why is this in the Smithsonian? So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And it's totally partisan.
First of all, we don't have time to litigate all of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument. And everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Excuse me.
It's like, oh, I can't believe you're trying to suggest, that slavery
just to
is
be
a good
clear,
thing.
you brought up race.
No,
this was a conversation about the arts, and you brought up race.
It isn't.
You brought up.
But the whole point of this is that the issue
you brought up slavery. And you brought
I
up the
actually
question
didn't.
of whether, hold
You
on,
did.
you brought up
And
the
my
question of
point-
whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is
No, I
yes.
didn't. I
Slavery
did not
in
say
the
that.
United States
don't
is
straw man
about
my argument
race.
because that's not what I said.
So what are
she
you
brought
talking
up
about?
slavery, and what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So when you're talking about Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad, that's not accurate.
Can I just say something
That's
about-
my point.
All right, we're going to move on
I
from
was saying
that.
You want to know how dumb Republicans are? Well, Julian Michaels got on CNN and said that slavery was thousands of years ago. Thousands with an S. She said she doesn't know why we're bringing that up because that was thousands of years ago. And in fact, it's been like 160 years since the end of slavery. And that's just... I also feel like I need a refund. Because I had Jillian Michaels DVDs.
Me too.
The Killer Abs, Just Shred. Like, I spent my black dollars supporting her ass. I want to say she also adopted a child from Haiti with her partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't understand her take of supporting and going so hard for a party. And she's definitely in the cult. But I'm not even going to understand it, but she's canceled. Put her on the list. Put her on this.
The legal process of adoption is slavery, but it still boggles my mind that white adoptive parents like Julian Michaels continues to defend slavery while actually using a very similar process to obtain their children. Let's take a look.
Well, let's talk about the fact that when you
In the United States,
let's talk about the fact that
slavery in America was a
do you realize
system of
that
white
only
supremacy.
less than 2% of white Americans own slaves?
But it was a system of white
Do
supremacy.
you realize that
African
slavery
Americans
is
were
thousands
slaves
of
and
years old?
white
This is fresh coming from you, love. Ain't this you? Yeah, this is you. Before I say anything, you have way too much access and money for this baby's hair to be looking like this, love. You have a full balayage. And what the is even this? Way too much access to money for this to continue to happen. Way too much access. But let's talk. I find it funny that a white woman who paid tens of thousands of dollars to adopt a 2-year-old black child from Haiti, a country that has fought colonization for years and won, the first country to win, is saying that slavery wasn't that bad and that wasn't that many slave owners. Where's the cognitive and where's the dissidence? Ma'am. And for you to repeat the same tactics of slavery, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, purchasing a human being, changing her name and placing your name as ownership on her birth certificate, doing this without her consent because 2-year-olds can't consent, children can't consent to anything, and placing her in a legal agreement, and doing that on a permanent basis. Ma'am, you of all people are so familiar with the slavery process because you've done it through your adoption. And for you to sit up there on television and say that is diabolical. So that leads me to believe that your black daughter does not know real black history. Got a lot to say, but don't got a lot of time. So let's chit chat about it in the comment section, y'all, because Jillian Michaels is doing way too much. Way too much. And as always shine your light.
Jillian Michaels is a white woman who's losing power in society, and she does not know what to do. Y'all have to pay attention. Stay with me here. She's white. She's here in society. She was given a privilege to have the race and the gender of people who are going to be listened to and honored in society in America. But if anybody can be considered a woman, right, then gender doesn't matter. And if people are decentering whiteness, then race doesn't matter. Where does that leave white women? You can't say, guys, I want my privilege back. I want my power back. You can't. So you hide behind, well, we're not all bad.
Jillian Michaels, a fitness expert, was on CNN discussing chattel slavery. I feel like we should have Civil War era historians discussing the NFL and weightlifting, because why not? Clearly, expertise means nothing. We all know better than the experts. You know Jillian Michaels, the person with more reality TV credits than brain cells. Good. No, this is good.
I want to know, since when did being a personal trainer means that you can now be in politics and have a say in political affairs? Julian Michaels was trying to argue that exhibits about slavery is basically teaching white people bad, and they don't. at all. They're just saying the history. It's not anybody else's fault that white Americans were bad. It's not anybody else's fault except white people. Americans during that time period were the ones going over to Africa, a whole nother continent, stealing Africans, bringing them back to America, just to treat them like they are a fraction of a human being. And a fraction is being very generous, making it illegal for them to read and write, making it illegal for them to learn the language, making it illegal for them to be a human being on their own, making them 100% helpless to their or the white people around them. People that they brought to America would get eaten, they would get like, people aren't talking about what was actually happening. Not to mention the that was going on with the women and men and little girls, and I do mean little girls and boys that was coming over to this country against their will. Like, nobody's actually talking about what the white Americans of that time period did. So just because people are telling the history as is, don't make it seem like, oh, we're trying to tell people that white people are bad. Y'all were in that time period. Like, I don't know what you want us to say. We're telling the history as is. Be ashamed of your ancestors. Be ashamed that the people that are in your bloodline did things like this. Don't be mad at us for telling the history as is.
You cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look at slavery, let's talk about the fact that
slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
She is such a joke. The 2% that she's talking about falls in between the years of 1804 to 1865, when the northern states had already abolished slavery. And I just find this argument to be incredibly disingenuous. To try to minimize the entire scope of slavery to 60 plus years, anybody who knows anything about our nation's disgusting racist past understands that slavery was very much localized to the South, not throughout the entire history of American chattel slavery, but specifically after the American Revolution. It wasn't as expansive in the North. But what Julian and people like her who use this dumbass argument are conveniently leaving out is the 200 plus years before this time period, where that percentage was well over 2%. What Julian is engaging in here is called historical negationism. And for the sake of the argument, let's grant it to her. Let's grant her that 2% of white people in the American population during this time period for those 60 years, it was only 2% that owned slaves, right? 2% too many, by the way. They utilized this tactic to make it seem like the white people who were in the 98% maybe didn't live in the South, maybe lived in like upstate New York, didn't own any slaves. Those were the good ones. Those were the people that black people could come and like confide in with their slavery woes, and they had black people's best interests at heart. That's a very hard and strong no. The entire North abolished slavery because they were rapidly industrializing and felt that they no longer needed or benefited from slave labor. Hence why, even in 2025, all of our biggest manufacturing companies are up north in like Michigan, Illinois, So y'all are trying to convince us that all of the Northerners were just sweet angel babies. Like, even photos and documentation later during the Jim Crow era at Lincoln, smiling like it's a photo op, none of those people were descendants of Northerners, because you know racism is passed down through generations. It's not like an innate behavior. Now, two things can be true at once. We can recognize that other demographics of people around the globe have been including white people. But what I've come to realize is common practice is that they will use this information, child, they be pulling out all the tactics on us. They will use this information to try to negate or reduce the black plight in this country. There is zero separation between imperialism, racism, and American chattel slavery. Full stop. And I want to be clear, what they're trying to argue is that white people were also enslaved in the United States, and they're trying to compare indentured servitude, which was also terrible and disgusting. A lot of Irish people dealt with indentured servitude, but they're trying to compare that to a complete systemic and physical brutalizing of an entire group of people for 300 plus years. Could you see how I'm like disconnecting? Not like it's not landing for me. Like, are we forgetting the 3/5 compromise where we were seen as 3/5 of a human? Are we forgetting the 1/8 rule? Are we forgetting the Jim Crow era and all of the terrible that happened to people who only looked like this? Julian Michaels can honestly miss me with the bullshit, because I hate that she has black children. Black people and allies alike, take the education of the true black American history into your own homes, because it seems as if people like Julian, Donald Trump, and MAGA, they're trying to erase history so that it's easy to repeat. No shade. As always, it is your girl day. Comment your thoughts down below.
Child, please go down in the comment section and let me know what you think about these conversation down in the comment section. But as always, please keep it respectful. You're on this channel, we're allowed to disagree, but we do it in a very respectful way. So go ahead, feel free and share your thoughts. For me personally, like I'm not surprised that 2025 we're still having this conversation where some white people still play ignorant to the black history, especially the black American history. For me, I'm not surprised, but it's just so disheartening to know that the internet is there. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of videos, documentaries out there that has told the story the way it is, that is telling history. But yet, I feel like some white people are choosing not to, and I'll say majority of white people just calling it out the way it is, because you still see them like, oh, black people always play the black card and try to downplay slavery and say, oh, slavery is thousands of years ago. No, I feel like non-black people, I won't even just say just white, non-black people try to downplay the history of black people, including the black American people, and including the the Caribbean blacks and even the African. They try to downplay it. I remember I was having this conversation sometime last year about how slavery and how I personally, I would not assign myself, especially when I was talking about religion. I met this non-black person that was trying to convince me to come to church and all that. And I was trying to give them like, I would not assign myself to a religion that was used to harm my people. At least I know they used that in Africa at the time, and they used it for the chattel slave and the slavery that occurred in West Africa. I know religion was a big part. Even the Pope has apologized to Africans, to black people, for using religion, from using their power to influence such harm to humanity. So that, with that, I said I don't want to assign myself with anything that did harm to my kind. And you could clearly see a lot of the ignorance. He didn't even know that there was a book called the Bible, that there was a Bible called the Bible. He didn't know. There was a lot of no information, no, and yet you're trying to talk to me about my race, my color, and where I'm coming from, and my history. And I feel like when it comes to Jill Michaels, is almost the same. The fact that this woman, like the other creator said, literally just practiced slavery because she went to Haiti to get a black baby. So with all the children in the orphanage home in America, you didn't see anyone to adopt, to choose to go to a black. And that's where that white supremacy and white savior thing comes from. For me, it still does not click why a white person will leave their country that has children to suffering there, okay? Children abandoned, children that needs help, and go to Africa. And I know some people will say, oh, they are helping the children in Africa. And what about a movement that develops the Africa rather than taking the children away from it? I know, yes, some people come, oh, they help a better life for the children. We've also seen people that were adopted by black children from Africa or the Caribbean that were adopted by white parents tell their story. I have a couple of videos of that on this channel. You probably, I don't know, maybe I'll try and post one again recently, so you know that are sharing their story of how unheard and how racism work in the white household that they were raised in, and how they struggle. So relax me with the bullshit when some people will tell, oh no, sorry, I hate cursing. Than say, oh no, oh, the children benefits of it. Even though the benefit of it, there's also a lot of, imagine being in a household where your parents is ignorant about your race, your story, your history, and then say such racist, like what Julia Michaels just said. Imagine a black daughter at home, some of the things she'll be teaching her, because whether you like it or not, the parents are the ones that embed certain, and then that young black woman will grow up and go out there in the world and really spit out some ignorant stuff out, because they feel like black people are overplaying the black card. So when I see people like Julia Michaels or people in like I'm just like, you could just pick a book. A simple Google search will help you understand the system. Even I, that is not even an African American, I'm a Black American, whichever way. I know some of you don't really like being called an African American. So yeah, I know some of this history because I want to know. I educate myself. So it's a simple Google search. And I feel like she trying to gaslight the host and telling the host, oh, now you're playing the card. And I feel like this is the new pattern now that a lot of non-black people are using, saying, oh, black people are overplaying it. What about, let me say, like, okay, because black people were reclaiming our power and we're not going to let the white supremacy and the imperialism that is going on to step on us. Rather, we're going to speak up for ourselves and stand up for ourselves. How about that? And I feel like this is not sitting well with a lot of white, non-black, I'll say non-black people, because they're used to always seeing black people shrink and being stepped on and be walked on. And now we're reclaiming our power as black people. When I mean black people, as a collective, and they feel like, this is not right. The math is not matching again in their head, because normally they are able to get away with certain things, and now they can't get away with those things anymore. Black people are standing up, especially the Black Americans are standing up for themselves and standing up against them. Now they're crying wolf. Let's just keep doing what we're doing as black people generally in the world. Let's just keep standing up for ourselves. Let's keep representing ourselves. Let's keep calling out BS like this every single time it comes up. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section. But as always, keep it respectful. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversation. So go ahead and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push up my content for more people to see, and that will be you supporting this channel and this girl here. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys in my next video. Deuces.